After months of persistent rumors about a potential Linkin Park reunion, a social media firestorm erupted over the weekend when Linkin Park and various members of the band, as well as Talinda Bennington, shared this 100-hour countdown clock on social media, leading up to some sort of an announcement on Wednesday that has created obviously all sorts of buzz. Back in February, Orgy frontman Jay Gordon in an interview said that he had heard that Linkin Park was going to be reuniting and that they were going to be working with a female vocalist. Several weeks later, Billboard reported that they had multiple sources that indicated the same, that Linkin Park was going to be reuniting. They were shopping around some big shows and that they had heard they were also potentially working with the female vocalist. But again, none of that has been confirmed by the band, but they're teasing this big announcement on Wednesday that looks like it really could relate to a potential Linkin Park reunion. So I thought it would be fun if I brought a couple of my friends on here. We can speculate about who could potentially step in to this role in Linkin Park and, maybe speculate about what that would look like and who our favorite vocalists are in the genre. So I wanted to bring on Doc Coyle from Bad Wolves. He just released a solo single, which is a fantastic cover of Aerosmith's Living on the Edge. He's got a music video as well. I've linked to it down in the description. And also my boy Chris Davis from The Ghost Inside. He's one of the most talented people that I know. He's also a producer, and you can check him out on Twitch and his YouTube channel as well. Also linked down in the description. Guys, so thank y'all so much for doing this. I really appreciate y'all being here. And I know you, just like me, are big fans of Linkin Park. So I wanted to speculate. We don't know what's going to happen. Who knows? Maybe they'll announce a box set or something this week, or, wouldn't that be crazy? I just wanted to get y'all's picks on who you think could potentially crush it in the role. Doesn't mean they're going to get it. We're not saying they're going to get it. We're just fan picking, fantasy drafting our potential favorite vocalist for Linkin Park. Chris, I'll go to you first.
You know what? Go to Doc first, because I've been thinking about this since you texted me a few hours ago, and I'm struggling because this feels like such giant shoes to fill. It's like the most impossible role for someone to step into. So I'm interested to see what Doc comes up with here.
Well, I'll preamble mine by saying I think this is very similar to the Queen situation with Freddie Mercury, where you have a generational talent where the songs are so hard to sing and the tone and the vibe, it's kind of impossible. But I also love the idea that bands can exist. If you really think about it, it's Mike Shinoda is really the face of the band, even though Chester was the voice. He's the guy who runs the show. So I feel I always want bands. I will never feel bad about someone going, let's keep the show going. Let's make it happen. And so I'll just say that on the beginning, but I'll just reiterate what I said on Twitter was I thought out of the tribute show that Deryck Whibley from Sum 41 crushed it. I was just blown away. I think he's an awesome singer, and I was impressed. Even though tonally he does something very different. He's not trying to do a Chester impression, but I thought if you were trying to get someone who could sound very similar and pull off the vibe, I always thought Danny Case from Ashes to New could really, really do a good job where it would be a seamless thing. But a lot of times bands don't want to do that because they feel it's too close, or it's trying to kind of redo history or anything. So, and if they are replacing it, I would say I have no beeline on anything. I don't know who it is. I heard a rumor it was a girl, but if they're doing things, I think the world is a better place. And I always want bands to go on and keep more music out there and keep the positivity going. So I'm excited by the prospects of new Linkin Park music.
Now, Doc, I love everything you said right there. And I want to say a little breaking news here on the front of Deryck Whibley, which you just said. I want to get your live reaction to this. Deryck Whibley on social media, and I have no background on this. I know Deryck. I love him. He's an awesome guy. But I'm totally shocked by this. He just posted on social media, Deryck Whibley and Sum 41. It says, tune in Wednesday morning, Deryck Whibley announcement, which just happens to coincide with the Linkin Park announcement. What do you think about that? Not saying it's him.
Hey, I'll just say, Doc Coyle, the scout, the talent scout. All right, if I'm right,
you got an eye for it, bro.
I'll just pat myself on the back and be able to kind of because by the way, that I just rewatched a bunch of the clips from the tribute, and most of it's not great, and not because the singers aren't great, and not because the talent isn't really high. It's just hard to do someone else's thing.
Yes.
You know, and so for anyone, even if you're great at what you do, and so it's no discredit to anyone there, it just feels like, you know, like you're wearing your dad's suit. It just doesn't fit quite right. But when he did it, it felt right, and that was cool. And it's you know, he has a lot of gravitas. And listen, I don't know if that's the thing. We'll see if I'm right. I love, you know, I want to get a tattoo just as I told you so across here. So I can, when I am right,
that, bro,
I'm
that's
getting
wild.
it. Much to the chagrin of my fiance.
Well, I want to say, Chris, you have obviously a lot of thoughts on this as well. Who do you foresee, if you could pick, not saying that this is going to happen, but who are some names that come to mind for you that you think would be interesting in that spot?
You know, it's been really tough, and a little peek behind the curtain, but Brian, you and I were texting about this a little bit before we went live, and we talked about Deryck, and I had a pretty, I don't know, negative reaction wouldn't be what I would call it, but it was like, I was kind of taken back that might be an option, but listening to you guys talk about it more, the more it does kind of start to make a little bit of sense. I didn't even think about the tribute show that Doc was talking about, and yeah, he did kill it at that. He knows how to front a very large band, you know, like he's got like the star X Factor frontman thing going on and a great voice. So maybe that does make more sense now that I'm sitting with it a little bit. But it's like I was saying, it's like, you know, the spot is so crazy. Like it's an impossible task to find somebody to fill that spot that like anybody you would have mentioned feels crazy to me. But I think more than anything, it's important to me that like, whoever does step into this role, if this is what's actually happening, doesn't try to be Chester and does their own thing with it, and at the same time just like respects the role that they are in, you know, respects the history of the band, the legacy of Chester, but doesn't try to imitate Chester. Just do your own thing and do your best to like, you know, pay homage to the legend that is Chester. Kind of like, you know, what I feel like Zach and Charlie are doing with this Pantera thing. You know, I was very lucky to get to see them play a couple times last year and play with them, and I felt like they were doing a really cool thing to show a ton of respect for the Abbott brothers. You don't have to come in, and I think Zach is a really good example of you know, stepping into a role but not trying to be Dimebag. You know, he goes up there and plays those riffs and plays the solos. He gets the heart of what Dimebag was doing, but he's not trying to be Dimebag. He does his own take on that. I would love to see somebody step into this role with Linkin Park and not worry about trying to be Chester. Do your thing. Just make sure that you're paying respect to the guy who helped pave the way for so many of our bands. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's really hard for me to pick, but the more I'm sitting with this Deryck idea, the more I'm feeling like maybe that does actually make a lot of sense. And I will pitch in for Doc's "I Told You So" tattoo. I'm just saying, I'll pitch in.
Absolutely. And so as for the Deryck Whibley aspect to this, having met him, hung out with him, talked to him, I love the guy. I think he could absolutely crush it. I also know that he has a really good sense of humor. And it's like, if he really put up Deryck Whibley announcement Wednesday morning, because so many people have been suggesting it could be him because of how good he is. I could also see him kind of busting balls in this situation and goofing a little bit. But if it is him, that's wild and crazy. And I'm so happy for him because he is absolutely qualified to be in that spot. And it would be amazing. If I had to pick, and kind of bouncing off the rumors that it could potentially be a female vocalist. All right. So on my list of potentials, Deryck's in the cards. I don't think it's him. Even with this, I think he's trolling, but it could be Deryck. If I could hand pick someone, if it's a female vocalist, I'm picking Amy Lee. I'm picking Amy Lee or Lizzie Hale. Lizzie Hale could just destroy that gig. I mean, she could absolutely knock it out of the park. She has that also where Amy sings a little bit differently. She kind of can add that grit to her vocals as well. So I think that she could potentially fit well in that space. In terms of rock vocalists on the male side, outside of Deryck Whibley, if it was me, I like storytelling in bands. I would like for it to be a younger musician who idolized Linkin Park. And one that comes to mind is Ollie Sykes from Bring Me the Horizon. Now, probably never going to happen, but I also think this Linkin Park reunion they're not going to be touring 9 months a year. So it could potentially be someone who's pulling double duty. If you put an Ollie Sykes in there, it's going to be different enough. And he's such a creative vision that I think that he would never try to be Chester. he can do things so different. But I also think the likelihood of that is slim to none. There's also some people suggesting that I believe Bad Omens has an announcement that may also be coming on Wednesday. There's rampant speculation.
I heard that.
Yeah.
That was a rumor too.
There's rampant speculation that it could be Noah Sebastian. I don't think it is, but I think if he got it, he would absolutely destroy that role as well, as talented as he is. I love Bad Omens and I love what they're doing, but I just don't think it's likely. I just think that Mike Shinoda is a really self-aware person. I don't know him, but that's how he comes across. I certainly think anything they're going to do is going to be primarily rooted. I'll be shocked if they're one of the bands that has like a Chester lookalike. I'd be shocked. It just doesn't seem like them.
Yeah.
And so I believe it's going to be something where you're going to be like, whoa, I didn't even see that coming. And I think Deryck Whibley, you see that coming. And, again, it could just be a box set and I look like an idiot.
You think they'd count down to a box set?
I don't know, but I honestly, if they did that, it would be, honestly, I would just have to laugh. It would be very well played and they let all this speculation run like crazy. But no, I totally agree. Like you had Talinda Bennington also sharing this countdown clock. You had people associated with the band that aren't in the band sharing it. So
I have another guess. That's not.
Go ahead. Yeah, no, let's hear it.
That it's an album, but with like different singers.
That's a genius. I could totally see a Linkin Park and Friends. Yeah. I could totally see, because they're the type of band where they could just call you up and go, yo, M Shadows, are you free this weekend? You want to come play with us this weekend? And then, and that to me elevates the ticket demand. If you go, hey, this weekend, Deryck Whibley, Linkin Park and Friends, or actually you don't know who it's going to be before you show up. There's a lot of interesting things like with Jack White where he's like, you're not even going to know where I'm playing until I decide that morning. So there's some real interesting possibilities there, but I wanted to thank y'all for coming on. Just want to do this really quick, and it'll be interesting to see what's announced on Wednesday. If it is Deryck Whibley, Doc Quill predicted this days ago. I
wasn't predicting. I was just saying I liked that. I thought that he did a great job. I wasn't predicting. I was just like, man, that guy crushed it. And one thing before we go, I just want to say one thing. I think had Chester not passed away, I think maybe neck and neck with Metallica, but I think in a more modern sense, Linkin Park would be the biggest metal rock band in the world. I think they're the only, like we joke about, or even being serious about Metallica playing the Super Bowl. I actually think Linkin Park playing the Super Bowl would make more sense than any modern rock band, because their stuff, even though it came out 20 years ago or something, it's very modern. It's very they've set a template that two generations of bands have borrowed in a way that I feel it bridges gaps. It bridges hip hop and pop and all that stuff.
Somehow more relevant now than ever. Absolutely,
and they stand alone in that regard. So a world where they're active, a world where they're doing things, is a better world for all of us who are in this side of things. So I'm excited. Whatever the news, I'm excited.
It's definitely a seismic moment in rock if Linkin Park comes back, no matter what anybody says. And we heard the same type of pushback with Pantera, where people were going, I'm not going to go see this. I'm not going to want to see it. And it's been very successful for them. And, we've seen the live shows. They certainly have done a beautiful tribute. I don't think anybody doubts that Linkin Park would certainly have some sort of a tribute or homage to Chester. And even the performances themselves are just generally speaking a tribute to his legacy. But I am going to leave it at that. We could speculate all night. There's so much to say, but I really appreciate both of y'all's insight on this. So many fans are excited about what's happening with Linkin Park, and that is myself included. We'll see on Wednesday what happens. Hopefully it's not a box set.
And you heard it here first. Doc Coyle's getting knuckle tattoos when it's Deryck.
He is. He's pretty much obligated to do it at this point. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Have a good one.
So there you have it. I always appreciate the insight from Doc and Chris as always. But for the big reveal, we're going to have to see what Linkin Park has to say on Wednesday. It could be nothing, or it could be a full-blown reunion announcement, which I actually think very confidently is what it's going to be. But, I could be wrong, but we'll have to see about this. But for me personally, I would really welcome a Linkin Park reunion, and I trust their creative vision, and I think they could do this and also pay homage to Chester's legacy, as we've seen from other bands in the past as well. Again, time will tell. Wednesday is the day that countdown timer runs out. That's your latest update here from Rockfeed. Be sure to subscribe and notifications on for the latest news and updates.